So I just went on a time-lapse spree recently, and I figured I would turn this into a learning experience. So this video is going to be all about how to uh, do time-lapse. So I don't know if you remember, but a while ago, probably like 2 months ago, I attempted to do a sunrise time-lapse, and it didn't work out too terribly well. I took the things that I learned from that, and I recently did a snowfall time-lapse. I started with no snow on the ground, or very little snow, and as the snow accumulated over time, this time around it actually didn't turn out too terribly bad, and I actually put it up, and I'll have that video at the end of this video. But yeah, a couple things I learned is one, set your white balance. Generally, I shoot everything in manual, and it's not a big deal, except for white balance. Normally, in a photograph, if you shoot raw, it doesn't really matter if you have the white balance or not. Yeah, you don't want to do everything, get it right first in the camera and all that stuff, but it's like one button click to try to fix the white balance. But the thing is, when you're doing a time-lapse, you're generally shooting a lot of a lot of pictures, hundreds of them, depending on how long it is, from seconds to minutes long, you could have thousands. And to batch process the white balance for every single one of them would be a giant pain in the ass, and it's just a lot easier to nix the hassle and just set the white balance in your camera. That way, especially if you're doing changing times, like it turns from day to night, night to day, or something like that, the white balance will generally get a little fucked up. And I forgot to set it, and it didn't really bother me that much, since there wasn't really any sky, it's all snow. But so yeah. Another thing, like I said earlier, I usually shoot everything manually. One thing you want to make sure is you want to make sure you lock in the focus whenever you start. Either autofocus a scene and then set it to manual, or just manually focus a scene, but then make sure whenever you actually start doing the actual time-lapse that you're in manual and the focus is locked and you're all good. Because otherwise, the shot's going off every 30 seconds or something, and it's like you're going to go back and look at them, and half of them are out of focus, half of them might be exaggerating, but it's just better to make sure you have the focus locked in right away. You also want to make sure you're in aperture priority mode. I know I said earlier, shoot everything manually, but aperture priority mode is very useful. What aperture priority mode is you manually choose the aperture you want, be it f10, f5, or f5, f5.6, f4, whatever. And then your shutter speed automatically changes depending on the amount of light that you need to get the correct exposure. And if you're shooting something like snow, for example, it generally tends to produce a very gray image because everything is super white. You can change the exposure compensation on it too, depending on your camera. You probably should also get an intervalometer. I cannot say the word. You probably also want to get an intervalometer. There we go. It's basically a timer and a shutter release in one. You don't have to, but it'll make your life a lot more simpler, where you can just set your camera and it does it for you, and you can just walk away, have a cup of tea, and you're all good. Intervalometers are pretty cheap. If you want to get like a name brand one, they're probably going to be pretty expensive, but you can get one for like 15-20 bucks. It all depends on your camera. Make sure you get one that actually fits your jack. But what an intervalometer would do so that you can actually set the interval of time of how many shots you want to go off. Say, for example, you're shooting once every 10 seconds, you want the shutter to fire. Where you just program it to say, once every 10 seconds, I want you to hit the shutter button. And, you set it, and boom, you're good. walk away an hour later, you can come back and be like, I would come back and check every once in a while if you do actually leave your camera and just be like, oh, well, let us do its thing. Just in case everything is working out right, or just in case it's not working out right. You don't want to get home after sitting outside for like 5 hours and realize, oh fuck, I hit something wrong. I hit something wrong. I hit a deer with my camera, and then it auto-focused on the deer, and then I just lost everything. Manually focus. Speaking of choosing the interval of time of which you're going to shoot, you want to make sure you know how many shots you're going to actually want to do. For example, if you're doing a sunrise or a sunset, you generally have like a half an hour time beforehand. If you want to get like blue sky in transition, sunset into nighttime, it's probably going to be at least an hour that you're shooting. And so, if you want to think about that, how long do you want the end result to be? Do you want it to be a couple seconds long? Do you want it to be a whole minute long? Now, let's say, for example, you wanted your time-lapse to be like a minute long. 60 seconds, right? Videos are generally shot like 24p or 30p, which is frames per second. Let's just say 30 frames per second, for example. You want a 60-second long video that's shot at 30 frames per second. So that means you're going to need 30 pictures just to make 1 second of that 60 seconds. So that means you're going to have to do some math and multiply 30 by 60, which comes out to 180. Wow. 1,800 shots. And that's a lot for 1 minute. You have to take 1,800 shots. So if you're taking 1,800 shots in a hour-long period of time, that would mean you're going to have to take a shot every... hold on a second. Calculator, 1,800, I can't spell numbers, 1,800 divided by 60 minutes. That means 30 a minute. So that comes out to about 30 minutes, which is once every 2 seconds. Math. If you're shooting 30 frames per second, you want a minute long sunrise, sunset, whatever, and you're shooting for an hour, you're going to want to shoot once every 2 seconds. So, you would just set the intervalometer, 2 seconds, you're good to go. As long as the buffer doesn't kick in, but again, it all depends on your camera. Make sure you have fast memory cards. That is another tip I would say too, if you're going to be taking things in succession that fast, and you're not taking like once every 30 seconds or once every minute or something like that. A lot of people underestimate and be like, I'm shooting a sunrise, I'll just take one every minute. And then they get a result that's like, well, this sunrise is like 5 seconds long. That'd be a cool GIF, I guess. So yeah, that's all I have. Those are my little tips and stuff. I have no clue how long this video is. I feel like it's really long. I rambled. Story of my life. So yeah, that's my little tips and tricks and hand motions for all of this. Be sure to like and subscribe well, don't subscribe to the video. Like the video. Subscribe to me. Check me out, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, DeviantART, whenever I post on there. And definitely my website. I will put blog posts up every once in a while. Different things. Sometimes, I'll do. For example, I did a Fuji Pearl versus Kodak Endura difference between papers. Photo paper. I'm articulate today. Which you can check out over here. The link will be to the side. I have a YouTube video comparing them. So that's it. Thanks. Awesome. Love you. Yeah. I don't know why I just... yeah. Bye.